Well, it's time for the Chet and Bill show, and we're going to start off with the ending of the Iron Bowl here real quick, Bill.
All right, here we go. 56-yarder. Does not have the leg. And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the missed field goal back. He ran it back 100.
What an incredible ending to a very hard-fought football game between two really good football teams.
Oh, yeah, it was an incredible ending, and didn't like the way it ended, obviously. But it was a hard-fought game. Auburn, it wasn't a fluky. I mean, there were some fluky things that happened in that game, but it was they came out. Alabama ran the ball on Alabama big time, and they deserved to win that game. I don't know what would have happened when they went to overtime, but just the circumstances, the way it's set up for that 1 second left, Alabama's coaches decided to go for the super long field goal with a redshirt freshman, and came up short, which is not totally unexpected, but to see it run back like that was just a shock. I mean, it was just a shock ending for Alabama. Perfect season, and just a lot of Alabama fans trying to get used to that fact. And but things are good in Alabama Nation, but they're just having to get over a tough loss.
Well, I was obviously I sat down and watched that game. Tennessee was playing a little later. It was a tremendous football. Again, we said it was a tremendous football game, and from the start to the finish, and actually it looked like Alabama was going to take control of the game, especially late in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. Auburn actually had been running the ball on Alabama, and then all of a sudden Auburn decides that they're going to try to throw the ball for a series or two, and Alabama 3-and-outed them a couple of times. And then Alabama goes down there, like you said, they go down there to kick a field goal. And Bill, I question the one. I don't know how you question Nick Saban, honestly, a guy that's won 3 out of the last 4 national titles. I mean, how do you question Nick Saban? But it's 4th and 1 or 2, makeable field goal, probably about a 37-yard field goal, and he decides to go for it. You running back, Yeldon cuts left and runs into an Auburn guy that just was not blocked. And Alabama stopped short. I know the kicker had missed maybe 2 at that time, but you're sitting there thinking, wow, one more shot. I mean, it's a 7-point game. Make this field goal. It's 10. That ball game's over. And at that point in time, I personally thought, third-party observer, I don't have a dog in the hunt here, that it was a mistake. But again, I mean, if Alabama makes it, the game's probably definitely over still, and it's a great call. You can always second-guess a call after it's happened.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, I thought maybe he should have kicked it or at least tried again.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, Monday morning quarterbacking is easy to do. But, yeah, I mean, there was some circumstances that Saban, that some of his decisions are being questioned, and that's definitely one of them. But just with the ineffectiveness of their field goal kicking, but
the last field goal, you used a different kicker, right? You used a different kicker.
He used a redshirt freshman Griffith out of Georgia, who kid that supposedly hit 60-yarders in practice. I know in high school he hit some super long field goals, but yeah, that. But I think most of the pundits are saying that they agreed with that final 57-yard attempt, that was the way to go rather than a Hail Mary type situation or a kneel down. But kind of from what I've heard, everybody said, hey, give it a shot.
But you're not expecting what happened to happen. Like you said, I think you did a little research or saw somewhere and said it's only happened like this was the fourth time that this ever happened?
It's only happened. I think a game has only ended 4 times with a field goal return for a touchdown. So, just I mean, that was the unexpectedness of it, and just the way it ended. It was just.
Let's think
dramatic.
about this Auburn team, though, Bill. Against Mississippi State, they score with about 30-something seconds to go in the game. I think the quarterback hit a tight end down the sideline to score. Then they have that miracle at Georgia. Well, it wasn't at Georgia, but it was against Georgia. And then they have this game against Alabama where actually they had a couple of things happen. That last drive that Auburn had, it looks like Nick Marshall is about to get stopped at the line of scrimmage, and it almost looked like he might have been past the line of scrimmage when he actually threw the ball for that score. And then that kick. I mean, it's just wow.
Yeah, that's what had me worried as a fan, just thinking, this Auburn team's got some kind of a it factor, just some, I don't know, team of destiny, just something that they, come through with one thing after another. And, I said, if Alabama doesn't play their game, they can be beat. I mean, I knew that, Alabama would have to, not, if Alabama played their game, I think the Alabama would have won that game. But
overall, Alabama's probably a better football team.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I thought in that game when Alabama went up 21-14, 21-7, and then Auburn got the ball and just old-fashioned just rammed it straight down the field, running the ball. That drive, that was disheartening that they could do that. I thought, man, this is, if they can do that, like I said, that last touchdown where Marshall, it was a super play on Auburn's part, execution. But if you look at that video, both of the Alabama defenders, they just bid on the run.
Yeah,
and the safety, I don't know. He shouldn't have done. How do you let a receiver just forget about him? And he just tossed that ball. It was the easiest little.
It's Butch Jones, and every coach there is says it's
over-aggressiveness.
It's a game of inches. Everything's a game of inches. You're talking about even on that kick. That kick didn't fall that far short. It was a little short and to the right. That was one heck of a try to kick on 57 yards. But we were talking a little earlier. I don't think there's not many people can hit a 57, 60-yard field goal anymore. Especially, they took the tee out of kicking in college, 10, 15 years ago. And when they did that, that knocked off several yards on field goal kicks.
Yeah, I agree that, you see 50 and 51 every now and then. I know Foster hit a 53-yarder, but I remember back when we were in school or in the early 80s, there was 67, 65 yarders, but that was off a tee. But Alabama's only dropped to number 4 in the BCS. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the BCS standings, but yeah, it's.
There's a potential for an Iron Bowl rematch in the national title game, and it's unlikely since Florida State don't have as tough an opponent maybe as they need to be playing in the ACC championship game. Duke's decent. It's a 10. I think it was the first 10-win regular season for Duke ever. So that was a very impressed with Coach Cudd on that, but. They're not good. They're probably going to get beat by at least 3 touchdowns by Florida State.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest shock of the year. Should Duke beat Florida State? Now, Michigan State, Ohio State, that's going to be a game to watch, and I don't doubt that. Michigan State's got one of the best defenses in the nation. That could.
I think Ohio State goes down this week.
I think you may be right about that. And.
Let me ask you a question.
What do you think? Well,
let me ask you if let's say that Missouri beats Auburn and Ohio State goes down to Michigan State. Does Missouri jump Alabama or not?
Probably, from what I'm hearing, that they're pretty close in the computer ratings. Or Alabama. I had that pulled up earlier, but I think that just the fact that if they become the conference champs and they're beaten and they beat Auburn,
that may do it. That may be enough for them to jump Bama. Yeah,
I think the voters would probably, if it was a decisive win, especially over Auburn, I could see them moving ahead of Alabama in the BCS standings. But
what if it's not decisive? What if it's a last play game winner like Auburn was over Alabama?
It's hard to tell, but probably just them being a one-loss team, Alabama being a one-loss team, then they, I don't know, they'd probably move ahead. I wouldn't have a problem with it that much. I mean, I'd love to see Alabama get back into it, but it's just too much to happen. It could happen, but
too much to happen was last year too
well,
when it happened.
I know,
so last year you had to have two teams lose, Oregon and who was it, Stanford? I think it was.
Yeah.
Two teams had to lose last year, and both of them not only lost, Bill, but they lost on the same day. The first opportunity that could happen, the first week that it needed to happen, it happened. So it was fortunate for Alabama, and Alabama got back into it. Of course, Alabama was again, very good football team, and got matched up with an outmatched Notre Dame team. There's a lot of other games that have been a lot better than that Alabama-Notre Dame game. But anyway, Alabama's 3 out of the last 4, and like I said, Nick Saban's got to be probably the greatest football coach in college football history. It's hard to deny. This is the hardest time to win national titles right now, especially in the SEC. You've got, you got 14 teams. You've got parity. It's tough to win. And he's done it 3 out of the last 4, and then go back to LSU. He won one at LSU, right?
Right.
And the talent that he left at LSU won one with Les Miles. So if he had stayed at LSU, look if he hadn't left LSU when we went to Miami, what do you think LSU would be doing right now?
Yeah. Probably just same as Alabama's doing right now. I agree. Alabama has won the three titles here under Saban, but yeah, it could have easily, the chips could have not fallen in place. Alabama could have ended up with only one, say out of all those years, but nevertheless, Saban is almost becoming too big of to me, is almost getting a mythical status to him. He's just, he's not an infallible coach. He could be out-coached. There was some instances.
There's some questions the other day.
You can analyze the Iron Bowl that, maybe some things that, hey, you got out-coached, but
the last 2 weeks, Bill. Last week against week before against Mississippi State, and this week against Auburn. Alabama did not play, as you said, did not play their best football. The last 2 weeks, really. They played worse against Mississippi State, in my opinion, than they played against Auburn.
Yeah, Alabama had every opportunity in this game Saturday, and you had penalties. You had some inopportune penalties.
Dropped touchdown pass too, didn't you?
You had several dropped passes. Missed field goals. Come on. You miss 4 field goals total in the game.
You're right.
And Alabama had that ball down, in the red zone. They had that penalty, the holding and unsportsmanlike call. They had a movement on a field goal. They made the field goal and got called for the left guard or the left tackle supposedly moved and backed them up 5 yards on that, and then they missed it. And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't tell the guy moved. Well, I'm hearing, I heard some talk or read something about that was a very, or I don't know, that was almost a nitpicky call. I don't know. I'll have to look at the tape again, but yeah, nevertheless, it was called. But just.
But Auburn did something that was a lot of people really didn't think they could do, and that was run the football on Alabama. You've already said it. They did an excellent job of running the football. They've done it all year against everybody. They've gotten better as the year went on. I mean, Trey Mason's an excellent tailback. Nick Marshall can absolutely. I mean, he can fly. The quarterback, he's just. If they get to the edge, they're hard to stop. And then Trey Mason's tough up the middle. So they've got, Auburn's got some talent. And
no doubt. I mean, they outgained Alabama on the ground. They had scored or tallied up 296 yards rushing the ball to go with. They only had 97 yards passing.
So roughly 400 yards of total offense, but that's a lot more than Alabama gives up normally, all right?
Yeah. I mean, Alabama did themselves had 495 yards offense, but yeah, the wisdom was, let Auburn beat you throwing the ball, but they didn't have to. Auburn was able to play their game. That Malzahn offense, just that option.
Triple option is pretty good. Nick Marshall runs it really well.
And like some of the features they had on the broadcast where they would show the same play with the different options, and it's just so well executed. And it's by the
tough
time
to stop.
You realize that they're 6, 7, 8 yards down when you converge and make the play. Hopefully you do make the play, but. I got a hand. I mean, that offense is super dangerous, no matter who Auburn goes up against. I mean, I hadn't thought a whole lot about the Missouri-Auburn game, but I don't know. I might have to pick Auburn in that game. I know.
I'm going with Missouri. I mean, I think Missouri can beat them. I think Missouri's got a great defense, and they were able to hold Manziel fairly well in check this past weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
And, of course, LSU, the last couple of weeks, Manziel's been held in check. So we can talk some more about some of these other games. I mean, that LSU-Arkansas game, LSU like to got beat. I mean, they come down late in the game and come from behind to win the football game. You're talking about a Arkansas team that lost, what did they lose, 9 games? Did they lose 9? Maybe it wasn't 9. It was awful. It was a tough year. Now they were in some games, but at the same time, I mean, to play LSU like that and almost beat them, and then Vandy against Wake Forest. Vanderbilt had to kick a field goal in the last second to win the game. Hold on a minute. Excuse me, guys. And then what gets me about Vanderbilt, here they are. That was their 8th win. They're giving away tickets, Bill, and nobody's showing up. If I'm James Franklin, I'm looking for me a place to go. You're not going to appreciate the job I'm doing. I'm going somewhere else. I mean, James Franklin's a good football coach. You don't win 8 games at Vandy and then take them to 3 straight bowls, beat Tennessee 2 back-to-back for the first time since 1925-26, and your fans don't show up to support you. That's embarrassing.
Oh, yeah, I just pulled up the attendance is 33,000 announced attendance in a 40-something thousand seat stadium. Yeah, I mean, that's
it's embarrassing.
Talking about underappreciated.
And so why? And he's a coach that probably somebody's going to come after him this year. Somebody's going to make him an offer. And if I'm James Franklin, of course, I guess it depends on who it is, but I'm very seriously thinking about taking it. Let Vandy go back to being Vandy.
I know you've mentioned that earlier in the year, but I know your opinion's even more strong after that. But yeah,
they're not very good. They beat Tennessee. Who hasn't beat Tennessee? But I'm going to tell you right now, Vandy shouldn't have beat Tennessee. Tennessee had a touchdown call back against Vanderbilt, and Tennessee shouldn't have lost that game. But Vandy's just, even though they're 8-4, they're just not that good.
Yeah, I agree with you. Arkansas, back to them, I see where they're 0-8 this year in the SEC and 3-9 overall. And I didn't get to see any of that game, but I did. I was kind of keeping up with the score on that, seeing where Arkansas was way ahead, and now I'm looking at the line score. I see where LSU scored a couple of touchdowns late in that game to win. So Arkansas's definitely looking for a better year next year, and you think that that coach they got down from Wisconsin, Bielema, is if he can get some recruits, get a they had a pretty decent running game this year, and
they got a good running back.
That's what they're going to probably build on. Was the kid from Florida, but anyway, the other games, Florida. How about those Gators? What a horrible year.
If I'm not mistaken, and I may be wrong, but I think I heard that they have lost 16 starters to season-ending injuries. And if that's accurate, or even if it's half accurate, I mean,
starters.
Think about that. I mean, we can throw this up again. We can think Alabama. Let's say that Alabama had lost McCarron. That would have been a key loss for Alabama. If they lose McCarron for the year, let's say third game of the year, and they lose Yeldon and C.J. Mosley and Sinceri, and just add one or two more in there, and you're a different football team. Alabama's deep, but you're a different football team. Same thing with Auburn. They lose Nick Marshall, they lose Trey Mason. You lose those guys, and all of a sudden you're not the same football team. So I can see where Florida would not fire Will Muschamp, and I take it they're not going to do that. He did fire his offensive coordinator and his offensive line coach. So they're making changes down in Gainesville. They have to. I mean, if a coach has that bad a record and doesn't make changes, then the next year he's probably going to get fired for sure if he has problems. So
I mean, these offensive rankings that Florida put up this year is just
they were pitiful,
worse than even a Vandy or a Kentucky. I mean, Florida was 113th in points scored, 18.8 a game. I don't think there's but 115 or 16 in the whole FBS division. They were 107th in passing and 86th in rushing. So if you're a recruit, if you're a offensive recruit, I mean, I'd be looking at Florida for playing time. I mean,
especially a quarterback. Help. They need a quarterback. They need wide receivers, and they need running back. I agree with you. I mean, I don't know what they had. They had a good defense. I mean, they had a really good defense. If it had any semblance of an offense, they would have been much better. Plus, but again, the injuries is what did them in. I mean, and Georgia. The injuries did Georgia in. But how about the Bulldogs? They were down 20-0 to Georgia Tech and come back and won that game.
Yeah, Georgia has got a lot of heart. Is one thing I think you can say about them this year. The fact that even they had to play this final game without their all-time great quarterback, Aaron Murray, but
SEC's all-time great quarterback, right?
So I mean, it's been a tough year for the Bulldogs. They've been lost some heartbreakers, and with injuries has set them back. But
should have lost to my Vols.
That was
heartbreaking loss for Tennessee.
But
before the wheels came totally off the Vols.
So what did you think of Tennessee's effort last Saturday
against Kentucky?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Tennessee didn't give up. I could have saw the seniors throwing in the towel and saying, "Forget it," but Matter of fact, I listened to a lot of interviews, or interviews coming out of Tennessee from the seniors, Daniel Hood and Corey Miller and some of those guys. They absolutely love Butch Jones. They said they wish they could have had another year, and actually a lot of them said they wish they could have had all 4 years under Butch. They said Butch will get it done. They believe it. Tennessee, if you've watched them play, and you probably didn't watch Tennessee play a lot this year, but Tennessee, talent-wise, Bill, they don't have any speed. Their defense was slow. Their skill positions, they didn't have hardly any. Against Vandy, we lost our best wide receiver in the first quarter, and then against Kentucky, he didn't play. And then our next guy that's been doing good, Jason Kroom, he goes out injured, and it's like we had nothing left. I mean, Tennessee was, we was playing our fourth-string quarterback, which he played the second half against y'all. The guy that was going to be third string, if it had been like a week before, had a stress fracture in his tibia, I believe. So, I mean, Tennessee's just had they're thin, and being thin, you can't afford the injuries, obviously, and then lack of skill position. But they got a lot of help on the way. They're going to have somewhere between 14 and 16 early enrollees, that'll be a big deal. They've got like 32, 33 commitments and going after more. There's obviously going to have to be some weaning or some creative placement of people on that roster. I don't know how they handle it, but it's not my problem. That's Butch Jones' problem, and I'm sure he'll get it figured out.
Yeah, I mean, I know the recruiting projections has got Tennessee third, second. I think last time I saw one of them had them as third, but yeah, there again, there's a lot of jobs available for some of these hot recruits that want to come in, and maybe Tennessee has some of those guys that already on roster, but they
don't have many.
Not really. They've been playing this year, but yeah. What else can we talk about? I know. Nationally, did you see that some of the fisticuffs on
I didn't see it. I
Ohio
saw the
State, Michigan.
I saw the blurred out fingers.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
They were getting with it up there, Michigan, Ohio State, and there was I think 3 players ejected. They were mixing it up pretty good, and I know. One of the Ohio State players was being escorted off. He was given the 2. Single finger salute, I guess. Yeah, and to the stands.
Urban, the disciplinarian that he is not disciplining that guy at all.
Yeah, I read a headline that Ohio State players escape bans from Big Ten. So, I mean that's just pretty ridiculous.
Go look at his record. Go look at his record at Florida, Bill. He did the same thing at Florida.
I know. I mean, but to have a guy, both arms just shooting the bird to the fans is ridiculous. I mean, that to not be. I don't see that happening in the SEC.
I wouldn't think so. I hope
as
not.
Far as a suspension, but anyway, but yeah, Ohio State's happy that Alabama went down. That puts them solidly number 2 in the BCS.
I hope Michigan State plows them under somehow. I tell you what, if there's one guy that I don't like, and I don't like Alabama, but if there's one team I'd pull for against Alabama, it'd be I'd pull for Alabama against Ohio State.
Yeah.
I can't stand Ohio State because of Urban Meyer.
Right.
I can't stand him. I mean, it's like I don't know him personally. He may be a nice guy in person or something, but I know some things he's done football-wise that I think's snaky. So, anyway, you got my feelings on Urban.
I agree with you on Urban. He's a snake, I think. So yeah, we're looking at a big several championship games next week. Of course, Missouri and Auburn. Improbable matchup this year. I don't think anybody would have predicted that at the beginning of the year.
See, Auburn,
crazy.
Auburn didn't win an SEC game last year, right?
Auburn, that's right. They were winless in the league.
They were 3-9 overall.
Yeah.
So I think Missouri had 1 or 2 conference wins last. Well, they beat Tennessee. I know last year, so they've actually beat Tennessee 2 years in a row. Tennessee. Oh, man. My Vols, man, 4 consecutive losing seasons, Bill. And believe it or not, I actually hear Eric Ainge, who's got a radio show in Knoxville that I tune in the mornings and listen to. He actually says that there's a scenario, they call it the UCLA rule, that Tennessee could actually end up in a bowl game with a 5-7 record. Now, personally, man, I'd love Tennessee to be able to play in a bowl, but no, I don't really. Because here's the deal: you're 5-7. The rule, it's 6-6 says you're supposed to be in it, and I don't even like getting in it at 6-6 because I think if you go in a bowl and can lose your bowl game and end up with a losing record, I don't think you should be in it. If you can come out of a bowl with a losing record, I don't think you should be in a bowl.
Yeah, the whole bowl system has just been multiplied so much. It's just when you're having 6-6 teams and possibly even a 5-7 team going, that just used to be special to get to a bowl of any sort. But anyway, that's going to be something to look forward to. See how that shakes out. We got looking at actually got a Thursday night game, Louisville at Cincinnati. No big implications on that. Thursday, probably a team that I don't know if they've even played any games on Saturdays. Northern Illinois, they're playing on Friday.
They're undefeated, right?
They are undefeated now. The Jordan Lynch, their quarterback, is being mentioned as a Heisman candidate, but I don't see a Northern Illinois player winning. But Bowling Green's playing Northern. That'll be worth checking out if you want to watch something on Friday night, because he runs the ball for like over 300 yards. He has a couple of times.
Who does?
Jordan Lynch, the quarterback
for
Northern Illinois.
Okay.
And checking the schedule for Saturday, Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. It's going to be...
That's a regular season matchup, right? They don't have a Big 12 championship game, right? They don't have enough teams, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I believe you're right on that. The Big 10 has a championship this year. Pac-12 has it. But that game, Oklahoma State, they're number 6.
They've only got one loss. Yeah, good football team, right?
They've had another good year. Strong program. Texas at Baylor, I guess that's an interesting game. Another regular season matchup.
Baylor blew it here late, right? The Baylor had they were setting up for a run at the national title, and then they got who beat Baylor?
Yeah, Baylor had a good run there, but they did lose to Oklahoma State 49-17.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
They did come back to beat TCU last week 41-38.
So what about Texas and Mac Brown? Is Mac Brown going to make it another year?
Oh yeah, I think that's probably safe to say. Texas is 8-3 right now. They do, like I said, if they can pull the win off against Baylor, you're looking at a 9-3 year, which will put them 8-1 in the Big 12. So I'm not sure what the deal is. I think Texas was still in the title chase for the Big 12.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well,
but,
Tennessee plays Oklahoma next year in Norman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. That's a nice place to play. Strong tradition. You know, Tennessee's been known for that. Going to Oregon this year, going to Texas next year.
You got a question in their thinking, don't you?
Well, you make these schedules ahead of time. You don't know, but yeah, it's.
Well, we're clocking in, almost closing in on 35 minutes here, Bill. Let's give us some games. We mentioned the games, and let's take our picks. You bring them up, and I'll tell you who I think's going to win. You tell me who you think's going to win, and we'll go through these, hit these championship games, and maybe a couple of the big games, and maybe we'll come back next week and see who outpicked who on that.
All right. Let's see what we got here. We got, how about Oklahoma at Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State by 17.
Oklahoma State by 17. I like Oklahoma State in that game, probably 14 points.
All righty. So we're pretty much the same on that one.
All right. How about the Baylor, number 25, Texas visiting number 9 Baylor?
Baylor wins that game by about, I'm going to go with Baylor by 17 on that. I'll go with Baylor by 21 on that game.
21?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at Texas. Texas coming off a big win against Texas Tech, but Texas Tech tailed off big time this year at the end of the year. But I'd go with Baylor winning that game, probably 14.
We're going to have to start counting the points. I said 21. We're going to have to start seeing as it gets closest on if we're going to pick the same teams.
All right. We got number 7, Stanford at Arizona State.
Arizona State. I don't know a lot about Arizona State.
Arizona State's...
they're not bad, right?
Oh, they're a high scorer, and they're 10-2 actually. 8-1 in the conference, scoring 43 points a game.
Where are they playing it at?
That's that game next week's going to be. Where is that game?
That don't matter.
At Arizona. It's at Arizona.
I'm going with Arizona State by 3.
Yeah, I say Arizona State. I agree with you there.
So maybe I'll let you pick the next one first, and maybe I can disagree with you on something.
All right, maybe we'll have a disagreement here. Duke and Florida State. I think we're going to agree on that one, but I'm saying Duke's going to pull it out, Chet.
I don't believe that. Sure, you think Duke's going to pull it out? You wanting Duke to pull it out. Get Alabama back in that national title game, right? Duke and Michigan State win, and Alabama and Auburn play for the national title if Auburn beats Missouri. Or Missouri and Alabama. That's a game that hadn't been played. That'd be a good football game.
Some folks were talking about Alabama and Auburn playing in like the Sugar Bowl. I've heard that. I mean,
that would be interesting.
I mean, that would be. Everybody'd want to see that.
It'd be packed. It'd be a TV. I mean, it'd be great. I mean, it'd be a moneymaker, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I assume you're going Florida State, really.
Yeah. All right. Number 2, Ohio State.
I'm gonna say Florida State by 24.
I agree with you on that. 24. I don't care. I just want Duke to win.
All right.
Ohio State, Michigan State.
Michigan State by 10.
Say Michigan's. I'm gonna say Michigan State. Michigan State by 1. It's gonna be a close game.
All righty, man. We're in extreme agreement here.
Yeah. What about Missouri and Auburn?
I think we're going to disagree here.
I'm
going with the Tigers.
I'm thinking Auburn will pull one out. I mean, they're just they got that it factor.
You're thinking team of destiny for Auburn, aren't you? I'm thinking Missouri. Missouri wins this game in a close one, probably. I'm sure it's going to be close. Well, I'm not sure, but I think it'll be close. I think Missouri by 4.
I'm saying Auburn by 3.
Close game. Okay, so, well, all right. There you go. There you have the Chet and Bill picks for the week.
Yeehaw!
And we're going to have almost identical record on our picks. The only one that's going to be is basically it boils down to Bill. It boils down to the Auburn Missouri game for me and you. So I guess we could throw the other games out and say it comes down to this one.
Well, Chet, I did make a prediction. That doesn't mean I'll be rooting for them because I don't know. I just don't know that I can pull for Auburn next week. But
do you ever pull for Auburn, Bill?
No, I don't ever pull.
You
for
never
Auburn.
pull for. See, now that we have something in common.
Occasionally, I wouldn't mind if they win now and then.
Let me ask you: if they played for the national title, Bill, are you pulling for them or not? And you don't have to be politically correct here. You can say what you want to say. You know, I don't care if you say that I wouldn't pull for Auburn and that you'd put. If you want to pull for Florida State, that's fine, man. Because I'm not sure who I'd pull for yet if Auburn plays for the national title.
No, I wouldn't. I'd pull against Auburn. I mean, I'll be honest.
And, you know, that's nothing wrong. That's the way we are with our teams. I mean, we're for our teams and for our teams only, period. And when we're talking about our rivals, we want our rivals to get beat, right? That's all there is to it.
Yep.
That's just the way it is. That's the way I want y'all to get beat. You want us to get beat. You want Auburn to get beat. I want Auburn to get beat. I'm just telling you, that's the way it is. All these people that say, well, I'm for the SEC. I'm always just pulling for the SEC. Don't matter, I'm pulling for the SEC. I don't believe that. I don't believe that one bit.
Now I will pull for the SEC in all the other games.
How about the bowls? We got the bowls going to happen. We're up 41 minutes. We're having such a good time. So,
so do you think that? So Chet's making prediction that Michigan State's going to topple Ohio State, and he's predicting Missouri
to beat Auburn, right?
To beat Auburn,
right. Which
he
brings
is
up
picking Florida State to win. So, right. If Chet's scenario comes out, you'll have Florida State number 1, which they presently are,
right,
and number 2.
A battle between the Tide and the Tigers for 2, right?
Missouri. If Missouri does win the SEC game, Alabama currently ranked ahead of Missouri, so you're going to have an interesting BCS.
The problem you have is I don't think people want to see, other than Alabama fans, I don't think people want to see Alabama back in it.
Oh, I know they don't. I mean, if it was USC with this run of success or Notre Dame, you know, I would be feeling the same way. I'm, sick of them. I mean, it's an overload of how great you're hearing, how great they are every week. So, but would you have voters actually, dropping Alabama just so they could, just to keep them out? I mean, I'm sure that some would, but would honestly a lot of voters, I mean, they take their vote, I'm sure, very serious, and, if they think Alabama's a better team.
But there are some computer polls in this BCS ranking, right? And then strength of schedule comes in, and that adds another strength to Missouri's strength of schedule if they beat Auburn, right? And vice versa if Auburn beats them. So.
Yeah, let's see. I was going to try to pull the BCS up, but yeah, the computer rankings are kind of off, kind of diverse. Where I see at 1 Alabama's number 8 actually in the Colley matrix.
Now that's shouldn't
UAH professor.
That's not very good. 8 that one is wrong. No matter how you look at it.
Yeah, 8 is. If you look at the computers, Alabama, I think the composite of the computers, they are 4. They're 4 in like 3 of them, and then Colley has them 8, and another one has them 7. Auburn's ranked number 1 in the Colley matrix, 3, 3, 3, 3, and 6 in another one. So.
But what's Missouri? That's the one that matters, right?
Missouri's, they're number 5 composite. One has it 3, one has them as 8. But I don't know who this Oh, the Sagarin poll.
Yeah, no, that's been around a long time.
Sagarin ratings. You know who's number 2 in Sagarin? You'll never guess. Northern Illinois is number 2 in Sagarin.
Oh, my word.
So,
I'm not saying they're not good, but they have played absolutely nobody, right? I mean, Tennessee would probably be undefeated against their schedule. Maybe.
Yeah, it's I don't know where he comes up with that because their strength of schedules and plus who they played. But yeah, I mean, Alabama's not out of it, but it's going to take a whole lot to happen to get them back in it.
Well, we'll be talking about it next week, hopefully.
But I'm kind of leery of this. Next year is going to be the selection committee. There will be 4 teams making it. Now, I would like to think, well, if this had been in place this year, Alabama at number 4, they're in. But we got one more week of play,
and they don't have to take the top 4.
A lot of the talk's been, well, there's not going to be BCS next year, so I don't know. Are you going to have the committee say, well, like you are a big proponent of the conference champions, which I know it's great to be conference champion, but if are they going to take the best teams, what they think's the best teams, or the most deserving teams? Say a team loses or does not make a championship game, they may be considered not as deserving.
Well, if a team, the difference, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Where are you going on that? I mean, I've heard, I had a discussion with some other folks last night where they were talking about, let's say you were like Alabama and you just lost McCarron, A.J. McCarron in the Iron Bowl. There's potential, because he's not going to play, that they might not would select a team because they lost one of their better players, which makes them, in these pickers' mind, selection committee mind, not as strong a team. So potentially, even though they'd been good all year long, they may not get there because of the lack of the star player being available to play.
Yeah, that's what worries me. I like the BCS system, just the way it has so many components to it. There's 2 different polls, which I'm not so keen that the coaches poll's the best one to have, and this Harris poll is just a bunch. I don't know who all's on that. And then you've got the computers, which they average. But if you're just going to have this committee, I don't know. It just seems you're putting a lot in their hands, and just people making decisions, and I don't know how it's going to shake out, but got to look forward to that next year. But if you think, hey, if I'm in the top 4 in the AP poll at the end of the year, I like my chances of getting in the playoffs. But you're going to have to wait and see how it shakes out next year. But there's still a lot to go this year. Next week, big championship weekend.
Yep.
Chet and Bill's show will be back.
Yep.
Getting toward the Christmas season, but we're going to be back and on the air, online.
Well, that's right, Bill. And hey, I'll play this for you, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Check out chetandbillshow.com, right? Facebook page.
Yeah. Need to put a poll up there.
We haven't put a poll up in a while.
I put up a couple of polls, and I don't know if anybody sees it, but
well,
we'll do it.
Hey,
we'll see what we can do.
We just need to promote a little bit, and for you diehard listeners, tell other people about the show. They can.
We're
enjoy
talking
it.
to you, D-Wayne.
Yeah, man, and Dan Mellon.
Dan Mellon.
We got us a couple of listeners. So, anyway, hey, we certainly appreciate your time. Me and Bill had a good time. I always do with Bill. I can irritate him, but we still have a good time.
Oh, yeah. Chet, you be all right for a Tennessee fan.
Well, all right, guys. Until next week, this is Chet.
This is Bill.
And we'll talk to you next week.